Hey friends, my name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Thanks for joining me. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to Sunday Q&A. This is going to be a, so we're going to do a cinematic 65mm build for chasing RC drift cars. I've been struggling to figure out what to do with the AIO5, HDZero AIO. And then when I was at the... when I was chasing the RC drift cars with the 04 rig, bouncing back and forth between that and the analog builds, I'm pretty sure I could tell a difference in latency. And it kind of got me to thinking, you know, what can we do low latency with, you know, can we get it? The low latency makes it a lot easier to fly and to chase, you know, the little guys that are changing direction all the place, speeding up, slowing down. How can we keep that low latency and get a little bit better video quality out of it? And HDZero is the only real answer that we've got right now, other than like turning the, if I had Goggles 3, I could run the 04 system in race mode for lower latency, but then I'm also getting lower quality. It's probably still better quality than, it's almost certainly still better quality than analog. Whether it's I would guess it's better quality than HDZero as well. But look, I've got this AIO sitting here. I'd done a 1S 75mm build with it, which flew okay. It flew like all of the 1S 75mm builds, which is like lazy, not really remarkable in any way. And so like with that build together, I'm just not going to fly that build. I'm not going to fly a 1S 75mm build. The 2S 75mm motor to motor builds are 1,000 times better. Like they're so much better. I'm not going to fly a 1S version of that just has less runtime and less power. And so might as well put this into something that I'll actually fly, right? I'm using my HDZero goggles at the when I chase the RC drift cars for the best quality analog DVR, I might as well have this, and then I can also fly an HDZero battery, and that'll be kind of a cool comparison of HDZero versus analog as well. I don't think we really need that comparison, but hey, so yeah, that's what I'm gonna do with this AIO5, and I have a feeling that this is where this thing is gonna live. This is gonna be what it kind of does forever. So yeah, that was the plan for Friday's live stream. But then about 15 minutes before the stream started, Adobe stopped working for some weird reason. And then right on top of that, I actually lost 2 hard drives, which really, yeah, so I couldn't make the thumbnail. And then when 2 hard drives shit the bed at the same time, I was just like, nope. I gotta, and I was like trying to figure that out, and like, yeah, 7 o'clock became like 7:10, 7:20, and then it got to the point where I was like, it's too late. So I canceled the stream, and I spent the rest of the night trying to figure out what the hell happened. I believe what happened is that the Yotta master, YOTTA master, enclosure so it's a 4 SATA drive enclosure, that seems to have grenaded 2 of the drives at once. Like, it doesn't make any sense that 2 SATA 4 terabyte hard drives would choose the absolute exact same moment to both shit the bed, right? Like, that's kind of unreasonable. And so the only other option is that, and they were both in the same enclosure, and so, and I did find a couple stories of people on Reddit who had 4 drive enclosures kill multiple drives at once. And so that must have been it. So careful if you're using a 4 drive enclosure. My solution now, so basically, my setup has been 1 12 terabyte drive and then 3 4 terabyte drives. And many years ago, I had a RAID array fail, and I lost a bunch of data. So I don't really trust RAID arrays, and so I do manual backups, like once a month, whenever I can kind of remember. And just by having like the 3 4 terabyte drives and then the 1 12, I would push everything. I would just every once in a while just pull across. It was pretty simple because the 3 drives, they were like by year, so it was like 2013 to 2022, and then the next drive was like 2023 to 2024 or 5 or whatever, and then the third drive was like, so there was only really like 1 drive that was changing quite a bit, and then drag that over to the 12 every once in a while, and away it goes. I took this as so I'm obviously not doing a 4 bay drive anymore. I consider myself very lucky here because I had the 12 terabyte drive in that quad bay enclosure and 2 of the other drives. If the enclosure had killed the 12 terabyte drive and 1 of those 4 gig drives, I would have lost 4 terabyte. I would have lost 4 terabytes of data, which would have really, really sucked. I got super lucky that 2 of the 4s died. So now, fucking $600 later, I've got 2 8 terabyte drives coming and 2 double enclosures. One of the both of the enclosures are by OWC. Both of the drives are by Toshiba. One of the enclosures is Thunderbolt for the extra speed. One of the enclosures is not, and they're both dual drives. And so it's going to be the 12 terabyte drive and 1 8 terabyte drive in the slow enclosure, and then an 8 terabyte, and I have a SSD, a 1 terabyte SSD drive, which will live in the Thunderbolt drive. And so the fast drive will be the drive that like everything initially goes onto, and then the 8 and the 12 will be backups. And so instead of on the what I've had for a little bit here is actually 6 drives. I also had like a 1 terabyte drive, and so instead of having 6 different drives here, they'll just be 5. Right? The computer's internal SSD, the fast 1 terabyte SSD in the fast enclosure, the one of the 8 terabyte drives in the fast enclosure, or maybe the 12. I don't know. I'm gonna run some speed tests between the new 8 terabyte drives that are coming and the 12 terabyte drive, and whichever one's faster will go into the fast enclosure along with the SSD, and then those will be where I push everything to initially, and then whatever those other 2 drives are in the non-Thunderbolt enclosure, those will be the ones that I back up. So I will potentially have more speed. I will definitely have more storage space, and yeah, I'll be a little bit safer. So that's what happened on Friday. I did get the toilet to print, but then I tried to snap it onto the machine, and unfortunately, they tell you not to print it. Well, they don't say to not print it in TPU. They just say to print it in PLA or whatever. This is the part here that needs to hold on to the side of the Bamboo Lab printer. So Bamboo's printers, they purge. They have a little purging setup, and it flings these little TPU turds out the side of the machine, and it really shoots them out the side, and then they go flying, they get all over the place. And so there's a whole bunch of like turd catchers. Well, somebody makes an actual toilet turd catcher, and then it's open on the bottom. So this clips onto the side of the machine, and then when it flings the turd, it hits the toilet seat, falls into the bowl, and then it'll fall straight down, so they all fall. They don't shoot all over the room. And so, yeah, this print failed on me twice. The nozzle just stopped extruding, and so I changed a couple things in Bamboo Lab software. I just basically changed the retract. The retract is something that I had changed. It's from default, it's set to 0. Mads Tech had said to set it to 1 millimeter, I believe it was. I bumped that down to like 0.5 millimeter. And then I also changed the nozzle. I didn't realize that I'd been lazy and I didn't put the hardened nozzle into the thing. So I took the stock nozzle out, I dropped the hardened nozzle in, and then it printed this totally fine. Although back behind the toilet seat, there is an area that's kind of like ugly. So I don't know what the hell happened back here. Yeah, it doesn't. It usually prints cleaner than this, but this is worthless anyway. So I'm not really overly stressed about it. But this is the first time I've done a print that's run for like a long time. I've only been doing print like very flat, very low prints that get knocked out in like an hour or 2. So this is the first time the machine was running for like a bunch of hours straight, and I mean the print quality looks awesome, but yeah, I don't know. There's some weirdness. So I guess I'm gonna cut this off, and then I'll just have a TPU toilet. The hinge doesn't quite work, I guess, because the TPU is sticking to itself. But yeah, I now have a TPU toilet with no that I can't use. I was almost thinking of gluing it, like E6000 it onto the machine, but then I'm like, that's a bit much. Don't E6000 things to your 3D printer, dude. Kevin J with a $10 super chat. He says, "Happy Sunday. Thank you so much for supporting me, brother." Tony Morgan with a $10 super chat as well. He says, "Thanks for all the great content. You're certainly welcome." Thanks, guys, for allowing me to do this full time and give you this good content. CiottiFPV.com is your main spot for all fun things, as well as how you can support me the most. Live streaming schedule is here. Patreon, as it says, helps me the most. Join it for as little as $3 a month, or if you want to get on giveaways, which there will be tomorrow. Nope. Not tomorrow night. The Monday night after that. If you go from the $3 to the $5 tier, you'll get in on giveaways. It's all explained over there on the Patreon. Etsy has some really fun stickers and hardware that you can buy for me to support me. Fiverr, you can work one-on-one with me, take advantage of 9 years of FPV knowledge, and do a one-on-one session. This is where you learn the most. Teespring has some fun shirts and other random apparel. PayPal if you want to support me directly, but you don't want to do super chats because you don't like Google taking 30%. Searchable live stream transcripts. Craig actually just sent me a link to a search that will search all of the transcripts all at once, which I haven't had a chance to jump into because the last few days have been chaos. But you might be able to search all of the transcripts all at once sooner than later, which would be insane. And then lots and lots of affiliate links here. Use an affiliate link every time you do something on the internet. Well, buy something on the internet, I should say. It's free money for content creators that rely on it. I have affiliate links for Amazon, Get FPV, Pyro Drone, Race Day Quads, Newbie Drone, We Bleed FPV, Beta FPV, FPV Cycle, Hasingi, Oh My God, Brain 3D, HDZero, Flywoo, Emacs, Banggood, Camera Butter, and AliExpress. That's how you support me, friends. In the chat, Bad was first, Pauly Shortcuts, Spaceman Spiff, Chuck P, Dasi Basa, Hendrix Freakazoid, Christian, Douglas Six, Uriel, Tony Morgan, Michael Blade, BMO's Ride and Grind, Shermer, Frank Nicholas, Kevin J, of course, Elias, Pauly Shortcuts, Robert Pope, Craig, Tony Morgan, Bad, Uriel, Chris Mel, Stefan, BMO's Ride and Grind with a $9.99 super chat. Thank you so much, brother. He says, continued appreciation for the endless info and inspiration. Thank you very much, my friend. I think I got everybody. Craig, Kazuma, coming in at the last second. What's up, friends? I also now have a current generation iPhone, and I hate it. I think I hate it because there's no case on it. Mainly, I think the main reason... so this is a 15. I really wanted to get a 14, but they just don't have them anymore. In the last couple of months, Apple discontinued like all of their older phones. I went to the Apple store. Man, I don't like that. It keeps waking up. I just want it to wake up when I hit the button. When you do this, it wakes up. I don't like that. That's probably a setting, though. That's probably called Rise to Wake. Yeah, what I really wanted was a 13 mini. And I swear to God, a month or two ago, when I went to the Apple store, they had a bunch of the older... They definitely... I specifically remember that they had this still, the old SE, which is already like a little bit too big, but I've loved this because it's not gigantic. And like, when I hold it normally, with my... I have giant fucking hands, right? When I hold it normally, I can almost reach the very top of the screen. If you can't reach the top of the screen, you double tap lightly on the home button and it pulls everything down. So you don't have to play this game where you're fucking moving around in your hand. And when you're playing this game, this is when you drop it. But Florence had an iPhone 8, which is very similar to the SE, and the lightning port on the bottom stopped working a while ago. And so she's been needing to charge it with the maglev or whatever the hell it is, nonsense, which is just obnoxious. And so wanted to get... Basically what I decided is it would be kind of nice to have one of the newer cameras. I've been using this for the thumbnails, and it's got the old school tiny little kind of shitty camera. And I thought, all right, so I'll get one of the newer phones with the better cameras, and that'll make sense. And then yeah, when I was finally ready to go do it, apparently Apple had discontinued all of those older phones, so I couldn't get a 13 mini anymore. Couldn't even get a 14. All you can get at this point is a 15 or 16, which is super annoying. But AT&T was having a deal where if you did 2 of the 15s, basically they found some shit in the when you have to do an upgrade, go into the AT&T store. The salespeople there will find secret fucking codes. I used to do this when I worked for AT&T. They'll find secret discounts and shit, and they'll almost always save you some money. basically. And so getting 2 of these 15s, which eliminated the need for me to do this annoying dance of data between Florence's phone, my phone, new phone. Just kidding. And all of our lines are available for upgrade. They're all out of contract. 2 of these 15s, and like, so I'm getting nailed on the activation fee of $35 a phone, which is annoying. But other than that, our bill is actually going to go down by $3 a month because of this magical buy 2 phones bullshit that they did. So I'll be paying less a month, and there's 2 new iPhone 15s in this house. I told Florence, like, you know, fair warning, technically this is me updating myself and then updating your mom's phone. So if your mom wants the 15, it's hers, and then you get her phone. Maggie's on like a 12, and like none of us really use the and like other than the better camera, like who cares if the chip is faster or whatever. And so Maggie didn't want to do that. Her 12 was totally fine. So yeah, now, but I gotta be honest. Like I have a case. I do have a case coming for this. I don't know, man. It's way too big. I don't know, man. This is like, yeah. I don't like this. there maybe once I start using it for the thumbnail images and they look a lot better, but like I was hoping that the macro distance would be shorter on that. It's not. And like, I don't know. So far I like it less than my old SC, and my old SC works totally fine, and the battery's not totally shot yet because I try to cycle it between 20 and 80%, and so the battery's lasted a long time. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I might go back to this. Seems kind of insane, but like, if it works, you know, we'll see. We'll see. Sure wish they had smaller phones again. What is happening here? Can you eject, please? There we go. If you're using 04, if you're using Goggles 3, DJI Goggles 3, or the N3s, as well as ELRS, and you're having a weird time with ELRS, you're having range issues with ELRS, Mads Tech just put a video up this morning talking about it. Go watch that. Basically, there's it's sort of a bug in ELRS, but it's also kind of a bug in the Goggles 3. Apparently, the Goggles 3 use 2.4 to connect to the DJI controller, but even when it's not connected to the controller, it's clogging up a bunch of 2.4. And so hopefully DJI will fix that, but it looks like the ELRS devs are on top of it and they're fixing it. But yeah, if you're having ELRS range issues and you're using Goggles 3 or N3, check out Mads Tech's video. There is kind of a fix at the moment. You'll see. Christian, if you want to talk directly to me in the chat, just type CiottiFPV like Christian did. He says, what's the status of possibility to ship outside the U.S.? Thanks for all the golden content. Just got into 2S Analog 75. And my God, yeah. Any tune should do. Running at stock 1002, 14,000s. Yeah, the stock tune works really well. But, you know, same tuning approach as always. Easy button is grabbing the master multiplier and sliding it up a little bit at a time. If you want to get a little bit more in depth, take the top slider, the D-gain slider, move it over a little bit, move it over a little bit more to 1.3, and then once it's at 1.3, you're going to keep that ratio between that top slider and the second slider, and you're going to move them both over. And you just move sliders over, make the PIDs more aggressive until the rig tells you that it's unhappy, and then you back them off a bit. That's it. Super simple to tune in Betaflight. Michael Blades, like, if I absolutely have to ship outside the U.S., I will. But I prefer not to, because just the U.S. postal system is apparently completely inept at shipping outside the U.S., and I can't really afford for even more stuff to get lost. I've lost $200, $300, $400 worth of stuff over the last couple of years, and like there has to be a point where I just say, like, you know what, no more. It costs me way more in lost stuff than I actually make. So yeah, unfortunately not. Sorry. Michael Blade says, hey, BMO says, chores done, batteries charged, locked in. Happy Sunday, CiottiFPV. Very cool. Michael Blade says, just broke my last set of props and I'm on vacation in Florida. That sucks. Oh my God. How many propellers did you, like, how much crashing did you do? When you go on vacation, you're supposed to fly chill. That sucks, dude. Fuck. Elias says, do you have an opinion on the RunCam split 4K FPV camera? I thought I would just ask, even though you're specialized in micros. RunCam split 4K. Hold on. I don't know if I'm familiar with that one. I'm familiar with a lot of the split cameras, but apparently they've continued to make split cams. Normally the problem with split cameras is the field of view. That used to be the big issue. They were very low field of view. Let's see. Oh my God, it supports gyro flow. That's super cool. Damn. I like that a lot. So field of view, 140, not too bad. Yeah. If you are on analog, boy, can't you guys make that a little bit lighter? That's heavier than even 04. RunCam, come on now. Yeah, they figured the initially with the split cameras the problem was latency, but they seem to have figured out the latency at some point. And yeah, I mean, if you're gonna stay analog, these are great. This is a great way of getting HD video. My favorite is the RunCam hybrid, but you can't get that anymore. I don't think. Yeah, this is they discontinued this, but this is as good as it got. The FPV system was just like a regular FPV camera, so there were no sacrifices whatsoever. It was actually I think it was the RunCam Sparrow. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that was what was built in. So you had a full-blown analog, crazy low latency, wide-angle FPV camera, and then a whole separate HD recording setup. I put these RunCam hybrids into lots of stuff, and they were great. And so, yeah, there's a little bit of a sacrifice when you go to kind of like an all-in-one setup here. But if you can, if the field of view doesn't drive you crazy, which I don't think the field of view would drive me crazy anymore because I've been flying the 04 a whole bunch with lower field of view. Yeah, this is a good solution if you're gonna stick with if you're gonna stay analog. Also, there's a guy, Stuart, that he's the other FPV pilot at the RC Drift Car stuff, and I think he's flying exactly that, and I was really surprised at how good the quality was. The problem is just the weight. You know, it's 10 grams of dead weight, all the same problems that we deal with on 04 and Walksnail, right? It's a whole separate board, which is a pain in the ass to deal with, and then it's a bunch of extra weight. Other than that, though, yeah, really, I've been really impressed by the image quality. Bad says, gotta for the 3-2-1 rule for important data backup. What's I don't actually know the 3-2-1 rule. Is it that you have to have it in three? My guess would be you have to have your data in 3 locations, which I don't, unfortunately. 3 locations. No, that wouldn't be it. You have to have it in 2 locations, right? So inside the house and then outside the house, which means basically cloud storage, right? You have it backed up on a cloud. That way, if your house burns down, you don't lose it. So I guess it would be 3 copies of it at 3 copies of it at 2 different locations. So in the house, you have it in 2 locations. You have 2 copies of it, and then the third copy is external. 2 locations. I don't know what the one would be. But yeah, that's the right way to do it. I don't have it in a location off-site, mainly because if the house burns down and I lose all this stuff, the FPV thing is probably over at that point. I don't think I'd be able to rebuild this whole thing. I think at that point I would just say, you know what, I had a great run. I'm gonna go back into project management. But yeah, and like I do have loads of like the important family images and shit like that on Instagram and Facebook, and that's, you know, that's considered, that's like an offsite location. So Craig says, Frank Nicholas, are you the guy who helped out CiottiFPV with his dive problems? He was indeed. Yeah, shout out to Frank Nicholas for letting me bounce questions off of him in terms of storage solutions and which drives are good and whatnot. He's a wealth of information, as is Craig. Frank and I have been talking back and forth for years. He's a super OG, mega supporter of this channel. Let me get caught up here. FizzPV says, what's your opinion on the Cockroach 82 for a Batwing style chase rig for case and cinematic shots? Apparently the Cockroach 82 frame rattles like crazy. So I've never run it. They sent me a couple of them and they told me that it rattles, and I was like, okay. And so I never used it. I don't know how you would mount. I think that frame does have hooks on it, but they're not spaced out the right amount. So you're going to have to create your own Batwing mount. If you're gonna do something with the 04, there's actually no props in view on the 75, and I think even on the Mobula 85 frame, Mobula 8 frame. So you don't need to go the crazy Batwing setup. The lower field of view with a little bit of up tilt, like you get from the Happy Model mount here, there's actually no duct in view, so you won't have to go with the crazy camera up front setup, which is good because putting the camera up front increases the chances of it getting hit and getting scratched or ruined. Yura says, I'm from the time I had to bicycle to the other side of town to ask somebody if they were home to play. Craig says, any tricks soldering to BT 3.0, battery connector, tiny nubs? Do you use heat shrink to avoid shorts? Yeah, always use heat shrink. Big trick is going to be to make sure that when you're ever soldering to like XT30, even XT60, BT 2.0, BT 3.0, understand that the pins you can melt the plastic very easily, and then the pins can come out of alignment. So always plug the other side of the connector in. Whenever you're soldering to one of these connectors, even if you're soldering on the side that's stronger in terms of the plastic, plug the male and female connector in. Just have an extra one. I have an XT60 that just lives on the top of the workbench here. So regardless of which side of this I'm soldering to, I have the opposite one. Plug it in and then do your soldering, because this is going to hold the pins dead straight in there. And so now, no matter how much heat you dump into this thing, these pins aren't going to want to wander, and yeah, then you won't be able to plug your batteries in. But yeah, always put shrink wrap over the wires before you solder, to the connector, and then you can slide the heat shrink down. And then you do want to put one last giant piece of heat shrink over the whole thing, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, there you go. Michael Blade says, I thought I brought extra props, but no. Oh, you didn't bring any extras. That's happened to me before. That happened to me one of the Florida vacations that I took. I just assumed that I had extra props, and I actually had a Cinewoop prop explode in the air, and I was done flying the Cinewoop for that vacation. Benny Bravo says, do you have a recommendation for motor wire? Whatever the motors come with, basically, is how I always do that. So if I'm working on like a big motored 5-inch rig, I'll just take a look at the gauge of the motor wire on those big giant motors. If I'm working on a tiny whoop, they come with 30 gauge. So just whatever, you know, the motor manufacturers spec out the right wire for that amount of power going to that motor. So just, yeah, go by that. That's the easiest way to do it. I think that's what kind of everybody does. Craig says 3 places, 1 off-site. Oh, okay. Yep. 3 places, 1 off-site. That makes sense. Wait, no. Oh, Bad says 3 copies, 2 formats, 1 off-site. Interesting. 2 formats, huh? Why? Oh, in case the format dies. Interesting. Huh. Backblaze 2.0 is cheap. What's that? What's Backblaze? Uriel says Google Cloud. So the other problem that I have with offsite cloud-based storage is that I have 10 terabytes of data. And so the amount of time that it would take to shuffle that off, and usually that much storage is going to be kind of expensive. So yeah, I think I'm okay. I don't think I want, or at one point I did have a cloud-based something. I don't know if it was through Apple or what. And with this much data, and it kind of drags on the network and the computer a little bit when it's backing up. It just got to be kind of annoying. And so yeah, I don't know. The really, really, really important stuff is on my Facebook and my Instagram, and it's shared with other people too, right? Like it's on Maggie's Instagram, Maggie's Facebook, my parents' Facebook, and so yeah, if I lost all my data, the super, super, super important memories would live elsewhere. So I'm not. Yeah. And I always make sure that I tell my clients that I only have their data backed up for 1 year. After a year, I delete it off my drives, even though I don't. But I make sure that I hit them with that so that they know that they need to have it in a couple different locations. Craig says, you can talk to Frank, not Butthurt. B-Mud Skipper says, had a crash in my Meteor 75 2S04 Lite, and the OSD stopped telling me voltage. Both the 04 and the Betaflight OSD say 0 volts, but the Whoop flies just fine, so I set a timer for 4:30 and land. Nice. What happened is I think it's called a shunt resistor on the AIO has died. And so it might not be this. I don't know what it is, but yeah, that's something that happens. Just eventually, the whole AIO will die, and then you can get one where you get that OSD back. Uriel says 10 Facebook accounts, 10 Facebook accounts. I'm not sure. Bad says 69 current watchers. Nice. All right, I'm caught up on chat. Let's dive into. Wait, no. Craig says. If you always have your drives connected to your Mac, they have unlimited personal backup plan for $99 a year. Wow, that's not bad. That's like what, $8 a month? I really try to minimize the $8 a month different things that I have. So yeah, I'm good at the moment, but wow, that's pretty cheap for unlimited for $100 a year. Damn. Curtis Hayes says, is the X12 and direct battery connection your recommendation for 2S04? No, you can't really use the X12 for 2S04 because the X12 has its own built-in VTX, right? You want an AIO that doesn't have a VTX built in, like the AIO that comes with the Mobula 704 or the AIO that comes with the what's the Rotor Riot rig called? Whatever the Rotor Riot 75mm motor to motor 04 rig is called, that has a Flywoo AIO that seems to be really good. Or you can do the Betaflight 12 amp that you've seen me do all of the Walksnail builds with. Vision 40, that's it. Thank you guys. Yeah. So there's 3 different AIOs. Look, I've got an entire live stream where I dive into that for you, and talk about the pluses and minuses of all 3 of those. So So if you click on the little magnifying glass here, which is going to search on just my channel, search for like best AIO for 04. And there you go. Best AIO for DJI 04 Lite 2S 75mm build. And so yeah, on this live stream, I talk about all three of those options. There might be like one more option now because it's been a couple of months, but all three of these options are really, really good. So you'll dig it. FizzPV Craig says, I use Backblaze B2, not a shill for them. Nice. So Backblaze is the one that's $100 a year. Man, that is pretty cheap. FizzPV says, trying to find a setup to chase skaters, surf skate, etc., but is safe enough for film kids, analog to fly, thumb 2 for footage. Small is good for extreme upshot while out of the ground. Nice. The thumb 2 is very lightweight, so you'd be able to do that very comfortably with like a 75mm 2S rig. If you want a little bit more power, a little bit more wind resistance, go up to 85 motor to motor with a 2-inch prop. Yeah, plenty of setups that'll move a thumb 2 around. Okay. We build. I think that those are all the... the pin vices are back in stock on the Etsy store. And I still haven't had a chance to get the HD3s up for sale, but there will be a set of Fat Shark HD3s for sale at some point on the Etsy store. And also, I have these very cool... I still have a bunch more of these very cool Pretty Fly cat/trans pride goggle straps. Free. Just buy something on my Etsy store, and in the notes say, goggle strap me, and I'll send you one of these. Cool. Lots of fun stuff over on the Etsy store. Check it out if you haven't. Great way to support me. Cool. Now I'm caught up. Right? Yeah. Right? Yeah. What's the, I need to buy some hard... Oh, Canon, you were doing so well. You were hanging on in there. You were just being cool. And then you had to go and be uncool. Come on back. Come on. Come on back. Come on, you can do it. You made the sound. You made the sound that I want to hear. There it goes. Ah. All right. We build. So, cinematic HDZero rig. I mean, that's what this is. I know that's like a kind of like a strange oxymoron kind of deal, but that's what this is. I am chasing the little RC drift cars in a cinematic manner, and this is how we do that with HDZero. And so I've got the AIO 5. We've got a Cockroach 65 V3 frame. We've got a Batwing mount available over on my Discord. I've got the cool little Micro King stack cover just for funsies. This is also going to hold the antenna down, though. We're going to use an ORT Micro V. Also, I do want to fly this Mobile 6 2024. I got a couple batteries on the charger. Yeah, I've put back together... Oh, I got to plug these motors in, huh? I've put back together the Mobile 6 2024. I had been using this AIO for a little... a second analog RC drift chase rig, but it's got some diagonal lines of video noise on it, and so it doesn't really make sense as a cinematic build, and so it'll work better as a freestyle build. So I moved it back to a freestyle setup, which is kind of cool. So we'll fly. I have not flown this yet, so we'll fly this later in the stream if I remember. And or don't run out of time. I'm going to be putting Weebleed 0702 40,000 kV motors on it, and then I will be motor limiting them down a little bit. And that's it. That's the whole build. Right. So I'm going to put the Lux camera back on it. Again, it's a cinematic build, so we want to use the camera that looks better. Oh, there's YouTube shitting the bed. Awesome. All live streaming things are awful. Pop out chat. Somebody mentioned somewhere. So my when I first put this Lux camera on it, in the first battery, I managed to smash something right down the middle, and it scratched the lens. Apparently, this is the same as the Caddx Ant lens. So this is still the scratched lens. I'm going to raid one of my boxes for a Caddx Ant. I'm going to remove that lens, and I'm going to put it on here. But first, I'm going to solder this up and look through it to look at like the field of view, and then I'll change the lens to make sure that the field of view doesn't change or anything like that. Because I never believe anything that I read from the FPV world on the internet. So we're going to test that to see if, yeah, you can run a Caddx Ant lens. It doesn't look identical to the Caddx Ant lens, but I'm assuming like the focal length and the focal distance is the same. I'm also assuming that this lens and that Caddx Ant lens either do or don't have the UV filter on them, because that's going to be sort of important. That can bite you in the ass sometimes. So... All right, we've got a shiny new Cockroach 65 V3 frame here. Let me get caught back up on chat, though. Let me pull the chat onto the other monitor here. Craig's using his search. Very cool. Sam says, had a motor wire break right at the motor plug and need to replace the wire. For Beta FPV 1102s, should I buy a crimper kit or make my own, or just buy a pre-crimped wire set? I would just buy a pre-crimped wire set. Or if you have a tiny whoop motor that's either like on its way out and you need a reason to replace it, or if you've got a bad tiny whoop motor, just depin it. If you've got any of those plugs somewhere, just depin it, and you might have a and you might be able to, well, not might, you will be able to use it. So yeah. What I would do though is that I would try to find a rig that's got like a motor that's sort of on its way out, and then I would use it as an excuse to either buy a replacement motor or a whole set of replacement motors, and then you've got some fresh plugs. So this is going to be motor number 1 because the hooks are going to be up front here. So motor number 1, we want a red dot on the plug for the Happy Model motor. And let's get that going here. I meant to do this off stream, but everything has been chaos over the last day. I also hurt my back a couple days ago. So when Maggie and I met 3 or so years ago, Florence was 11 years old, and probably, really? Again? You piece of shit. And probably all of like 50 or 60 pounds. In the last 3 years, I've seen that child eat more than I thought anyone could ever eat. She's still skinny as a rail, but she's quite a bit taller now. And certainly not 50 or 60 pounds anymore. She's probably only like 80 something pounds, but she loves piggyback rides. I hadn't given her a piggyback ride in a while, and so Friday night I gave her a piggyback ride, and I was like swinging her all over the place, and boy, did I fuck up my middle, the middle of my back. It's quite painful. This is the first time I've hurt the middle of my back, though, which is interesting. I usually hurt my lower back. So when you get a Cockroach 65 V3 frame, if you don't over tighten these motor screws down, you won't have any problems. If you do over tighten these motor screws, you will squish the plastic into where the C-clip on Happy Model Motors runs around, and that's bad, and you can't have that happen. So you can either... The problem also comes up when you take motors off, put them back on, take them off, put them back on. Every time you do that, you're squishing this plastic a little bit. What I do, when I remember, is take a 9/64, right? Let me just make sure. Yep. I take a 9/64 drill bit and just open these holes up a little bit. Run it through straight and then angle it. Run it around at an angle. Like this. Every direction, just real quick. And this is going to remove enough material that you never have to think about this anymore. I don't want to dump all this plastic all over this annoying to clean silicone mat. So I'm going to do this in my crotch. But I forgot to do this. And so this is what I call prepping these frames. Newbie Drone knows about this problem now, and so whatever the next frame that they make is, it will not have this problem. But once you have a mold, you have a mold. Happy Model Motors just happened to use a giant C-clip, which I actually prefer because it makes getting that C-clip on and off a lot easier. But yeah. With any other motor, you don't have to worry about this. They use much smaller C-clips that are also closer to the stator, which is also super annoying. But yeah, that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm just running this 9/64 drill bit by hand around here. It doesn't remove a ton of plastic, but it removes just enough. Just make sure you angle it like this. When you angle it like this, it removes like the extra little bits of plastic that might touch that C-clip, and like you can't have anything touching that C-clip. These little tiny motors are so low power that if anything is touching that little C-clip, even like a little shard of plastic from doing this, it's no good. Also, do it in this direction and spin the drill bit to remove plastic away from where the motor is going to mount, right? You want to pull the plastic in this direction. You don't want to do it like this and then pull a bunch of plastic to where the stator base is going to mount. And that's it. That's all you got to do. At this point, I like to just kind of grab the 5X loop and take a really quick look to make sure that there's not any weird little pieces of plastic sticking up that could get in there. What some folks do is they'll use a Dremel with like a little cone Dremel bit to do this. Whatever. It's all doing the same thing. You're just removing a little bit of plastic. The 9/64 drill bit is like just the right size. So let me just go in here real quick. I do see a couple little tiny bits of plastic that I just want to grab and remove, just to kind of clean this up a little bit and make sure that I don't have any problems. But yeah, like I said, it's only really with the light AF frame. You have to do this on the light AF frame. Out of the box, that frame was rubbing on Happy Model Motors for me. This Cockroach 65 V3 frame, you don't absolutely need to do it. Again, as long as you don't over tighten the motors, and as long as you don't take the motors off and on, off and on, off and on a bunch of times. Because it's about the plastic squishing in. And so if you don't squish that plastic in, you'll be totally fine. That one looks great. This is me being completely insane for the record. But yeah, the light AF frame, if you want to run Happy Model Motors with it, you're kind of going to have to do this. this hole is even smaller than on the V3. All right, there's that one. This one looks totally fine. A little tiny piece of plastic here. Let me just grab it. This is me just more like wanting it to kind of look better because I'm a crazy person. But I've had this bite me in the ass before, and it's super annoying because you got to pull the motor off, and then you got to just do this all over again, and it's like not super obvious. So yeah, take a couple of minutes to do this beforehand, and you won't have to do it again. Just flipping it over, looking at both sides of it. There we go. All right, all set. Frame is prepped. You can also kind of like just use your finger to feel these, and you'll feel any little like plastic hangnails that are sticking up. You'll be all right. All right, back to mounting motors. Super Deluxe says hashtag open the holes. What's up, Super Deluxe? How you been, brother? So also with the Cockroach 65 V3 frame, makes absolute sure that you use the little tiny short screws that they give you with the frame. That's actually really important. The reason why this is an issue is that they made this motor mount base really thin, which I love because it's lighter this way, and there's no reason for it to be any thicker than this. But this is the consequence of that. So it's also a little bit of a reminder to not over tighten your motors. All right, so this is going to be motor 1. We've got a little tiny red dot on the connector there. You probably can't see it, but yeah, the red dot on the connector with Happy Model Motors is for motors 1 and 4 if you don't want to have to reverse motor direction in Betaflight, which, you know, why would you purposely put the wrong motor and force yourself to do the motor direction thing? So do it. Put the red dots in the right places. You may have already reversed the motors, and then it'll force you to have to go do it again. So if you don't want to do that, then just pay attention to where the red dots currently are when you're swapping motors. But if you're doing a fresh build, yeah, put the red dot connectors on motors 1 and 4. Make your life a little easier. That kind of thing can totally bite you in the ass, like if you're on vacation, for example. Like if you're on vacation and you bring an extra motor, but you don't bring your laptop or something like that, and you blow up a motor, yeah, having the red dots in the right places can save you. What the hell's going on here? Get out of there. There we go. All right. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. Superlux says holding it down for Fly Tribe here in the West. Nice. Judging the freestyle contest on May 4th and Fly Tribe feature in Sacramento April 4th. Very, very cool. Dude, that's rad. Good for you. All right, that's a red dot. We don't want that one. This is a non-red dot because we're putting the motor on right next door. So this is motor 2, I guess, that we're mounting here. Okay. This tiny little Weha 261 screwdriver, I like this guy to be magnetic. So you just sit the front of the screwdriver on a motor overnight, and it'll make it magnetic. It's really, really nice to use it to pick up these tiny little screws. If you have 2 little tiny screwdrivers, have one be your magnetic that you use on motors, and keep one away from magnets, because sometimes it is nice to have a non-magnetic screwdriver. But yeah, just makes picking these things up super easy, right? Because trying to like pick these individual guys up with my fingers, like I can't. It just sucks. All right, so now we're going diagonal, so we're looking for a red dot, and there it is. Yeah, it's just blown out. You guys can't see it, but it's there. Trust me. I have no reason to lie. Okay. And you always want to, because of the issues with stuff dragging on these motors, you always want to spin these motors by hand before you go any further. You'll usually feel if they're binding up on something. Oh, fuck. Oh, God. So sneezing, the part of my back that I hurt is like, when I sneeze, it explodes and it hurts like hell. Oh, God. That is painful. And of course, the pollen's been absolutely insane for the last few days, so I've been sneezing more. So yeah, as you're putting these things on, just come across here and just spin them with your finger, and then spin the one right next to it. And then spin the one right next to it. You should be noticing two things. You should not feel a difference in how hard you have to push on them, right? Like, that's the easiest thing to kind of notice or not notice. They should all spin freely. If you spin this one and it spins freely, then you spin this one and it spins freely, you spin this one and it doesn't spin as freely, like you can feel that you have to push it harder, that's a problem. Here's the other thing, though, and I just want you to listen. Ready? This is what it should sound like. That's one motor. That's two. Here's the third one. That's me spinning it with my fingertip. And that weird clicking, is when I'm spinning it up here and my fingernail is pushing up against the propeller. The clicking goes away over here when it's the soft part of my finger, and then the clicking comes back here again. What you're hearing is your hard fingertip against the hard plastic. And what that means is that it's so free that it's able to, when each cog hits, it's able to pull the propeller away from your fingernail, and then your fingernail hits it, and then it pulls it away again. And so the propeller has to be spinning very freely in order for that to happen. If the propeller is bound up, you're not going to have that clicking, because it's not going to be free enough to pull the propeller blade away from your fingernail. It's going to be bound up, and you're going to be pushing it the whole time. So that's a really weird but super useful way of seeing if your motors are bound up or not. But usually you'll feel it. You'll usually feel it when you spin one and then you spin the motor right next to it. And yes, I'm absolutely getting old. I had to put my birth date into something the other night, and so I put the month date, and then I went to put the year in, and like I scrolled down a bunch, and I was still in like 2001, and then I scrolled down a bunch again, and I was still in like the late 80s, and then I had to scroll down again to get to 81, and I was like, yeah, I have to scroll down too much. That's some bullshit. I gotta scroll down 44 years, and that's ridiculous. So, don't get old, kids. Live hard and die young. FizzPV says, stalled on my 3-inch freestyle build because the AIO was missing the gummies. That's super annoying. Super, super, super annoying. Once you've been into FPV for a while, though, you'll have a shitload of the extra gummies floating around. Also, every time you do an order on an FPV site, they've probably got like 1 or 2 sets of gummies for like $3. Just buy them. Have extra rubber grommets. They're really nice to have. There's the motor that I just put on. Doing the test. It passed the test. So we're good. The motors are all spinning freely. Just take one last look at the C-clips and the motor holes to make sure there's nothing weird going on. And This one looks, there's like a bunch of little plastic shards in the one, but it doesn't look like any of them are actually touching. If they're touching really bad, the C-clip won't turn. But if it's just touching a little bit, it'll still make a difference. And so it's something that you want to pay attention to. I think I'm good, though. I think I'm looking good. Very cool of Newbie Drone to give you a couple extra of these tiny little screws. And so next thing that we're going to do is solder up the Lux camera to the AIO5. And so get these wires and separate them a little bit. We can twist them back up afterwards. I had already been using this camera, so they were all twisted up. But separate them here. Okay. And then we're going to bust out the OmniFixo. The best tool for soldering, as far as I'm concerned. Other than, well, I don't know. I think the nerd goggles are the best. Being able to see what you're doing, I think, is more important. But the OmniFixo is a close second in most important things to improve the quality of your work. Since I just removed this, I know which pads to run, but it is a little bit weird. There's a C pad and a P pad, and the C pad, you would think that that's for camera, and you would think that that's for the yellow wire. It's not. It's actually for the white wire. And like I said, I only know this because I just worked on this thing the other day. All right. So the camera is going to be on the front of this thing, and so I'm going to do the wires facing downwards, because then the wires go down in here, and you can pass the wires through the little battery tray area, and then they sit nice and flat down here, and it's just a little bit cleaner. Nice short wire run. And I think I'm going to mount this thing front to back, because the power lead is here, and then the same way I did the 04 builds, and then the pads are right here. That might be a bit of a problem because I have an LED lead on this thing. Let's see what color it lights up. It's probably not white. Maybe it's white though. No, it's red. Damn it. Well, let's solder the camera up and we'll see if the wires are long enough first. And then we'll kind of deal with that issue. So should have turned the soldering iron on already, but that's okay. And again, I'm waiting to swap the lens out until I can power this thing up and take a look in the goggles and make sure that the lens that I put on here doesn't make it any worse. So on the AIO5 board, we've got 4 pads in a row: C, P, G, and 5 volt. 5 volt's going to get red, G for ground, that's going to get black. The P is going to get yellow, and then the C is going to get white on the Lux camera. Are there markings on the Lux camera? There's not. And so let's get some of this stuff out of the way so we can come in here with the tip of the soldering iron. All right. And straighten these wires out. So these wires are already tinned. I've had this camera installed on here. The pads are already tinned. So this is just a quick reinstallation. So C is getting white. So let's take care of that here. And clean the tip of the soldering iron when you take it out of the stand, not when you're putting it back into the stand. And so I've got enough solder on here so I can just hold this guy on the side. And I do want to make a little bit of an angle for myself here because there is a motor plug right there. Get this in position and then come in with the heat. Let me actually just come down a little bit more on it. That'll get me clear of the plug. bring the heat in, wait for the whole joint to go liquid, and then away you go. Nice and simple. Make a little bit more of an angle, just so that you're not all over yourself here. Okay. You're not in your own way, is what I meant to say there. Didn't clean the soldering iron tip because I was kind of quick going between. And when I look at the tip of the soldering iron, it doesn't look super oxidized yet, so I can just keep going. Here comes the ground. Now the ground is always going to take a little bit more time, so just be patient. I got a cold solder joint there because I wanted to come off of it and add a little bit of flux. Adding flux to the ground, if you're not going to add flux, at least add it to the ground because it takes so much longer. It just absorbs a lot of the heat because the ground pads are tied into the ground plane. And so if you're going to flux one joint, it should be the ground pad. So the heat is still in it. Or is it? What the hell's going on? Oh. So I was not on that pad. I was on the pad next to it, and I just couldn't quite tell. That is my bad. It's because I have this. I made such an angle with this, so that the tweezers wouldn't get in the way of the other wires. This is why being able to see what you're doing is important. And now the 5-volt pad is going to be super easy. Oops. And there we go. And now we're going to check our work. Pick it up. Make sure that the silicone is not... Oh, all right. So the first one that I did, the silicone is in the little pocket. And you don't want that. So let's come in here and grab it. And we're just going to slide it down a little bit. Nope, no better. Ah, balls. All right, hold on. I'm going to come in from the other side here. All right. Oh, man, I am shaking. I'm a little bit hungry. I'm actually going to remove this one all the way. Clean the tip of the soldering iron because it's been a while. And now I'm going to bring this one back in here. Much better. Much, much, much better. So here's where we're at. Not perfect, but pretty good. Pretty decent. See how the silicone is down? The yellow wire, the silicone is a little bit too high up, but it's close enough. Yeah. Good enough. Now let's fire this thing up and see if the camera works. There's a chance that I did get that backwards, in fairness. Let's see here. These guys coming up? Yeah, they are. Let's take a little tiny battery here and just throw it onto this guy. And see what we got. Okay, board is powered up. Now I gotta go into the menu and tell this thing to look at HDZero. Unbelievably, it doesn't like automatically scan. That's kind of wild. HDZero R8. Oh, fuck. All right, it's the other way around. There's a chance that with these two cameras, it's reversed. There's a chance that between the Lux camera and the Eco camera, the white and the yellow wires do the opposite thing from one another. Because I swear to God, when I was removing the Eco camera, I looked at that and I was like, wow, why on earth would the white wire be on the C pad rather than the yellow wire? So I might be wrong about that, but I don't think I am. I think between those two cameras, the colors of the wires might be reversed, which is really silly. But that's what happens when you deal with all different people making all different stuff. So white is now going to go on the P pad, and yellow is going to go on the C pad. There's the white. Here's the yellow. I know you guys can't see me doing this. I'm just doing it real quick. Okay, there we go. All right. Oh, wait, no, I did have the right thing up. Look at that. Look at me go! All right, let's throw the battery back on this. Did I really turn the goggles off? What a donkey. Right, hold on. Yeah, I should put an antenna on it, but I'm only keeping it powered up for like a split second. So, it's fine. Source. HDZero. Power. There we go. Now we got video. All right, cool. Don't need the Omni Fixo anymore. Now we're going to deal with the lens issue. And now I am going to snap this on here because I'm going to have to unscrew the lens, screw a new lens on, all that jazz. So let me just take a quick closer look at this UFL. Yeah, that's fine. All right, let me snap this antenna on real quick. I love wearing the nerd goggles when snapping UFLs on. You can actually see what you're doing, and you won't have that situation where like you just keep pushing harder and harder and harder on it and nothing happens. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The Rage Rhino starts rampaging. Okay. So, well, actually, I'm curious. Yeah, no, I can already tell you. So I'm gonna have to reverse mount this kind of thing because these camera cables are not gonna be long enough for me to mount it back like that and have it sit. Yeah, no. So I'm gonna have to mount this AIO backwards in the same way that I did with the 04 build. Oh, Christ. So this is why camera connectors are really nice. So I'm trying to get the wires to go through here, go through this part of the battery bay here. And I just direct soldered this, but the camera won't fit through there. I don't even know if the camera will fit on the side here. Yeah, I guess it will. Shit, but I don't think I want to do that. Oh, man. And the wires come out the bottom here. So if I have this mounted like this, I'm not going to be able to fit the camera through that hole. So I could pass it through there and go around. So let's try this. Let's pass it through here. If it looks like it'll just barely fit. Maybe? Yeah, there it goes. Okay, so we'll pass it through the side opening there. And then, so we're just going to do a dry fit here before we deal with the camera lens. So a little test fit. Snap this in here. Why is this not? Okay. So we got it like that. And then, so we got this wire going around the side. And then the camera is going to sit up there like that. And so that's kind of ugly. Let me show you. So what we got here is that these wires are going on the outside, right? So this camera is going to be sat down there. The problem is you're putting your battery in through here, right? So what I prefer is for these wires to go on the inside of the battery tray, and then they'll sit down flat right here where my fingernail is. But that would mean that I would have to push the camera through this hole here, and it won't fit through there. So yeah. So my decision is, do I desolder the camera and then resolder it with the frame in the way, with the wires all annoying like, or do I just let it run on the outside like this and just deal with that sort of annoyance? So the battery is going to be here. This is not great. And the other thing that's going to kind of kill me is that I got this. I might actually leave it like this because I have to deal with this battery plug being all up in the way. This is going to be a little jank. The other option is to extend these wires so that I can run the AIO reversed with the plug in the back. I guess the other option is to rotate this thing 90 degrees, but I don't usually like to do that. Oh yeah, I can't do that because this plug is too short anyway. Okay. What I like about having the power plug up in the front here, similar to the 04 build that I did, is that it'll let me push the battery farther back, which will you'll have more lipo weight in the rear to offset the camera weight in the front. This camera is pretty lightweight, but it doesn't weigh nothing. I'm going to leave it like this, and we'll see how jank it is. If it's ultra jank, and I'm worried about like ripping the cables out of this camera, I am going to redo this. But for right now, let's leave it as is. And if I have to redo this, what I think I'm going to end up doing is extending these camera wires so that I can run the... I won't get the benefit of trying to level out the CG, but like I said, this camera is super lightweight, and yeah, it should be kind of fine. All right, so I'm putting a bunch of turns on this camera wire because it's actually a little bit too long here, as it currently is. Let me get these motors plugged in because it's just driving me insane. Motor plugs are all over the damn place. Wait. No, don't do that. Don't do that. I don't have the rubber grommets in yet. Let's figure out the lens situation of the camera first. So I'm going to put this guy here. So I'm going to line the frame up with the back of the desk here. Plug a battery in. I'm going to hold this lens up, and then I'm just going to take a look at what the field of view is, and I'm going to call it out to you guys. And then we will swap the lens and see what's happening. See what's crapping. Somebody just said I might be able to force the camera through there. I'm kind of intrigued. Let me see if I can. It doesn't look like it'll go through there, but you're right. This plastic is very bendy. Let me see real quick if I can mash the camera through the battery hole. That's what I would really prefer, I think. Although that maybe not, because I'm putting the battery in the opposite way. This might actually be the better way of doing it. But let me at least try. Because, yeah, the cockroach frame is very... The plastic is nice and thin and soft. So, let's see. Here... It's not really... It's not even close. I can see how you would think that. So much so that I kind of thought it, too. When you said it. Yeah, see, it's... I mean, if I pulled the lens off, I could do it, but I don't want it to be like... Maybe? I don't want to bend this plastic so much that, like, I fatigue it and it breaks. Weakens. I could easily do it once I've pulled the lens off. Oh, got it. Oh, man, it did a number on that plastic, though. Yeah, I had to really push on that. Well, it's in there now. I don't know if I'll ever be able to get it out. I hope I like this setup. Let's see. Let's dry fit this again. Okay. Yeah, so see, look. So here's why I like this setup. The little bundle of wires will now sit right there. And then the battery goes up. It sits down below this nub. And so it sits right there, and it's just like a nice, clean little... See that? Rather than it being outside of that standoff all silly like. All right, so let's see. Back of the desk here. Let me do this with the streaming. Let me hook up the HDZero module over here. Put this right here, and now I need to hook up the HD60S Plus. Okay, and that means this right here. And so now, if I go to the VRX screen and I turn on HD VRX, we should, yeah, there we go. Okay, so now I can rely even more on all of you to help me with this. We've got an antenna plugged in, so we don't need to rush. All right, battery power to the quad. We've got video. So, with the frame all the way against the back of the desk, push a little bit of up tilt in here. So, field of view is from this monitor over here to the purple. The purple and red. No, the back of the soldering iron. All right, so this is the scratched Lux lens. It's also dirty as shit. So that's the field of view. All right, do me a favor. Somebody take a screenshot of that. All right, so that's the field of view. Now we're gonna swap the lens and see what happens. We're gonna go full rainbow, swap the lens, and see what's what. Well, first things first, will I be able to crack the lens free? Oh my god. I don't really care about this lens, so I'm just going to grab it with these. Oh my god. Oh, there it goes. Alright. Got the lens free. Let's grab a Caddx ant and steal the lens from it. Okay, so here's a Caddx ant. Oh yeah, that looks very, very similar. These are all, I think it's M1.2. It's not identical though. There's a couple differences. Yeah, these are, no, I think it's actually M12. I think these are all M12. And I have no problem sacrificing a Caddx ant. This is actually my least favorite of the FPV cameras. And so let's get this one off. I don't want to use the pliers on this lens. There we go. All set. All right, cool. So that's loosened up. Hush Line of Sight says, are you familiar with the XNOVA 1404? Do you think they're the same quality as the XNOVA 1804? I got the T-Motor 1404, but looking for something a little smoother. The T-Motor 1404s are the best of the 1404s, I'm pretty sure. Somebody tested a bunch of 1404s a while ago, and the T-Motors were, like, significantly better. The XNOVA 1404s are probably fine, but if you're looking for something that's less coggy, from what I remember, I think the XNOVA 1404 is actually more coggy than the T-Motors. But yeah, the long and short of it is that the T-Motor 1404s are the jam. Those are the ones that you want. You've already got the best 1404. All right, so Caddx ant lens coming off. Let me actually put the nerd goggles back on. Stuff is kind of small. And so you always point those down to keep dust out of them. I'm actually going to stop talking because I don't want to blow dust into the sensor. Okay. When you pull a lens off like that, like, turn your air conditioner off, don't talk, don't breathe heavily. You just don't want to blow dust inside of the bodies of these cameras. Once you've screwed the lenses back on, you're golden. All right, so now we're going to have to focus this. So that's going to be the first challenge here. So I'm going to take this locking ring, and I'm screwing the locking ring all the way up here. And I'm going to just kind of screw this thing down a bunch and then back it off a little bit. And all right. So let's get this focused first. And then we'll take a look at the field of view. All right, we've got power. And so I'm going to focus it on the workbench. Since I'm chasing little RC drift cars, they're going to be pretty close to me. And so focusing on the workbench is probably... So this is the potential first problem with switching a lens. If it's not really a good compatible fit for a lens, it won't focus. In this case, we're fine, though. This lens is focusing, so... Right there, that's about perfect. And so now we got to try to get this locking ring to cooperate, which it isn't. So, all right, this locking ring will not work. Yeah, this lens will absolutely work, but not with the locking ring on it, which is kind of annoying, but kind of not, because the locking ring is thicker than the body, and that would have made it a pain in the ass inside of the Batwing mount. And so let me again just... Well, as I say that, I might be able to make this locking ring work. Hold on. Oh, shit. Didn't want that to happen. Okay. Ooh, that's just about there. Okay, I was wrong. The locking ring is totally fine. So this is focused pretty close. But again, the whole point of this is to chase things that are super, super close. And so that's about right. That's about right in terms of getting this thing focused. My hand is razor sharp, super close. You can see like really far out here is a little bit out of focus. So I would actually like to open this up a little bit. I'm going to push the focus forwards a little bit. All right, let's get that tight. I don't want to only be able to chase stuff. Oh, shit. Oh, well, no, that's just it overheating. I thought that was the IR filter breaking off. All right, so one of the things you saw me check, we'll just give this a second to cool off. There is a greenish pink infrared filter that on all cameras is either on the sensor or on the back of the lens. And so when I took those two lenses off, you might have seen me hold them up like this and look at the inside of the lens. What I saw is that the lens that I took off had that pink coating on the back element of the lens from both cameras, and that's good. If that's... I can show that to you. I can show you what I mean. I need to give this a second to cool off anyway. So here's what you're looking for. Ouch, motherfucker. I'm trying to think which one of these doesn't have it. Yeah, okay. So that one doesn't, and this one does. Oh, that one. There we go. That's super obvious. Okay. So you got to kind of catch the light when you check this, but see that pink and green hue? That's the IR filter on those. That guy might still have it. Hold on. Let me look through another couple lenses. I'll find one that doesn't have it. No. It's hard when the rear aperture is really small, like it is on a bunch of these. All right, this one definitely doesn't have it. Well, does it? I don't think this one has it. See, that one doesn't have that pink. It's got kind of a green tint, but it doesn't have that pink tint. That one does not have the IR coating. These ones do. See the difference? The green versus pink. Sometimes you can really see it. So if I were to use this lens without the IR filter on a sensor that also doesn't have the IR filter, everything would be very pink. I think, or it goes green. I don't know. It just it's bad. You can't do it. You can only really shoot black and white with it at that point, and who the hell wants to do that? So yeah, you have to pay attention to that. That's just one of those little annoying kind of things, and everybody chooses to do it differently. There's no standardization, so nobody has ever said like, "Hey, let's all put the IR on the back of the lens." I've even seen like the same camera manufacturer do it one way on one of their cameras and a different way on one of their other cameras. So yeah, usually the IR filter is on the back of the lens, but certainly not always. And that's something that you absolutely have to pay attention to when you're swapping lenses. All right, this should have had enough time to cool down. Let's take a look at the field of view real quick, make sure that the focus is set properly, and then we'll be good to go. Quad on the back of the table. A little bit of up tilt. Where's the camera? At the beginning of the stream, I explained that the... oh shit, this battery went dead. Oh fuck, I over-discharged the shit out of this battery. That was stupid. At the beginning of the stream, I explained that on the first battery of me flying the Lux camera, I smashed something and scratched the lens. And so there was a big ugly scratch on the lens of my Lux camera here. All right, field of view. We've got the quad in the same place, just a little bit of the left monitor. This looks to be a little bit wider of a field of view, which I don't love, but not the end of the world. It is focused, though, and I'm pretty happy. Cool. Good to go. Boy, does that look... It is, like, so washed out. Is this lens... I assume that other lens was just filthy. Is this lens just dirty? Nope, HDZero is just kind of washed out. That's fine, though. I mean, using this as a cinematic rig, it's almost like I'm shooting it in log. Let me just mess with the focus a tiny little bit more here to make sure that... Yeah, the lens is locked down now, which is nice. Okay, so that's obviously out. And then as I tighten this up, it should get better. So the key to setting the focus on these things is to let the lock ring work for you. You kind of back it off and then change where the lock ring is at and then tighten it down. I'll explain that more in a second. Okay. And you can kind of watch the focus move as you're tightening it up. There we go. That's even better. Awesome. There it is. Okay. That is focused properly. All right. Here's what I was talking about with the lock ring. You've got the barrel and the threads, and then you've got that lock ring on there. And so you've got to get the... It doesn't matter where the lock ring is, but you've got to get the barrel of the lens perfectly rotated. As you screw it in, it compresses all the elements, right? And so you're going to screw it down tight. You're going to look at where the focus is at. And then you're going to... So this is the lock ring, and this is the lens. And then you're going to break it free. And now you're going to turn the lock ring a little bit. And then you're going to tighten them both at the same time until it's tight. Look where the focus is. Pull them, loosen them both back up. Turn the lock ring the other direction. Crank them both down. And you're going to compare where the focus is in each lock ring rotation. And that way you're cranking it down so the whole thing is tight so that the lens doesn't loosen up, but you're using that lock ring. It looks very pink because HDZero gets all weird when the voltage gets low or when you unplug it. We should be okay here. Matthew Wagner says, HDZero does sell the lenses separately. I bought a bunch after slamming straight into a concrete picnic table. Yeah, I was going to order one of the lenses, but then it's like, I'm going to pay for as much as shipping for the lens, and somebody mentioned the Caddx Ant lens works. At some point, if I have to, if the HDZero lens is in stock somewhere that I'm placing an order, I'll certainly grab one. Blue Sky says, can you briefly comment on your experience with DJI versus Walksnail 1S VTX in terms of durability, general trouble in use? The Walksnail 1S Lite is incredibly fragile. I have broken 4 of them now. The 04 Lite seems to be super durable. I know a bunch of people have broken them, but I think it's because they're using canopies that are smashing in and breaking chips off. I've had really no problems with my 04s. Like once or twice I've had the weird, when you crash it, it freezes and you have to power cycle it. But the 04 Lite seems to be way more durable in my experience. And then everything else about the 04 Lite is better. You don't have to power the quad up when you pull the footage off of it. You don't have to put it on top of a fan while you're putting the footage off of it. Better quality, right? 4K versus 1080p. Race mode, if you have the goggles 3, will get you lower latency than Walksnail. Like the 04 Lite really just stomps the Walksnail Lite. The other way that the 04 that the Walksnail Lite is better though is its wider field of view. But yeah, the DJI 04 system is absolutely outrageous. It's frightening how good it is. So yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer for me. I did pay for my Walksnail repairs. It was like $260, but I sent them like 7. I sent them 4 broken Walksnail lights, 1 broken Walksnail full size, and then I think 3 Vistas or something like that. So they repaired a bunch of stuff for me, but boy, it was expensive. Okay, so we've got the lens focused. We've got the wires twisted up here. Twist them up a little bit more now that the camera's even closer. These wires are actually too long at this point. So I'm really twisting the shit out of them to kind of try to reduce how long they are. But I can also like push them through this little hole in the frame here. Let's get this Batwing going. So I'm going to run the Batwing in the hold the camera up configuration because I'm going to have to slot. You got to have space for the maybe. Hold on. So the Batwing is reversible. This is the high configuration here. It's going to go on the hooks and the camera is going to be up a little bit. You can also flip it upside down and run it in this low configuration. But when you do that, you can see the camera impedes on the battery bit where the battery is going to go. So let me just take a quick look. I love the idea of running it in the low config, but it's got to be able to clear the battery, obviously. So let's slot a battery in here. And then we'll take a look. It's not that much of a difference. It's a couple millimeters of a difference. But yeah, no, that's going to get in the way of the BT 2.0 lead. Because it's going to... Yeah, no. Nope. Can't run it in the low configuration. Alright, that's fine. So, flip this back upside down. It's really designed to be run in up high. And so now I run into the issue of this locking ring being too thick for the Batwing mount. But let me see if I can just mash it over there. Let's see. Give this a little bit of force here. Let's see if I can somewhat easily push this up. So hey, I am caught up on Silo. What a cliffhanger. Oh, there we go. That actually went totally fine. So I'm caught up on Foundation, Silo. Maggie and I are working our way through Ted Lasso. What an unbelievable show. And I just finished up Severance as well. And now we're gonna put this onto the hooks. So yeah, I'm running to the end of the shows that I'm interested in on Apple TV. But my dad actually added. He's got a family thing with Apple, and I'll just have Apple TV, so I don't even have to pay for it anymore, which is pretty cool. All right, so when you're putting this over the hooks, be careful. These hooks are not super strong. Try to like not just mash it over the hook. Like put your thumbnail on the bottom of the hook and then just kind of force it over. What happens is the hooks can kind of fatigue a little bit. There we go. Oh, it's blown out. But like you don't want to bend. See, the hook is starting to kind of bend away a little bit. You got to be careful with that. So try to support the bottom of the hook with your thumbnail as you push down on the Batwing with the pad of your finger. So come here, get the hole lined up. Use your thumbnail to push up on the hook. Kind of think of it like you're pushing the hook up through the Batwing mount rather than pushing the Batwing mount down onto the hook. And there we go. That's on there. The camera has rotated itself a little bit, but since it's on the lock ring, it should actually be fine. Now the camera is now lined back up. Nope, not quite. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Camera is pushed back just a little bit against the frame. I really like that, actually. I'm going to push back. There we go. Push back on the barrel of the camera against the Batwing. That kind of mashes the cam back into the frame, which is cool. And yeah, that's looking really good. Easy to line it up to get the camera rotated properly because you've got like that text across the back of the Lux camera. And these wires are kind of bundled up, a little bit annoying, but what I can do is come down through. All right, so let's get this out of the way. So yeah, this is where it becomes a little bit of a mess up here. Like we've got connectors on battery leads. Come on. Just fucking focus, you. Everything is out of focus in the frame. Why do I have to hit it to get it to work? Why does that work? Oh, I know why. Yeah, there we go. So there's a lot here, all on top of each other. Matter of fact, this, oh boy, this might not work. Yikes. Okay. Yeah. All right, so let's get this out of the way. There's these holes in the frame here, so we can kind of run those up. All right, so that's now out of the way. But like, look at that. This is kind of pushing on the bottom of the camera. So it's pushing the camera into negative up tilt, which is kind of interesting. I don't actually hate that. I don't love it either, but ooh, that's a bit much. And that red, I'm gonna have to black E6000 over those LEDs. That's a bit much there. But I mean, that's it together. That battery's sitting off to the side like that. Oh boy. I mean, that's... I don't know about that. There's a lot going on in this little area here. Thinking about it. If you're gonna do this build, extend the camera wires so that you can run this this AIO more normal with the lead in the back. With the lead in the back, even on a longer 300 mAh battery, you don't have the you just don't have this to contend with, and so the battery will very easily just kind of come up there, and it doesn't really affect the camera at all. See the gap that you get there between the bottom of the battery and the camera? So it's like, it's totally fine. You can actually run the Batwing with a little bit of up tilt You know what I'm saying? Whereas what I'm dealing with is that once this guy's plugged in, come on. Oh, balls, I put the battery in there backwards. All right. Come on. Get! There we go. So what I'm dealing with is that even with the battery pushed all the way back, oh, it just focused. See how the top of the PCB? That would be even worse with the Beta FPV 180 degree battery lead. Maybe with like the normal battery lead, it would be a little bit better, but I'm not sure. There's just a lot. There's a lot up in the front here. I think I'm gonna leave it, and I'll fly it and see how it is. I've been actually kind of curious about running a little bit of down tilt, basically. Because on this new polished concrete surface, these little RC drift cars are just so slow. Down tilt would allow me to not have to be so low all the time. I'd be able to get some more like down facing kind of shots. And so this is a perfect excuse to kind of test that out. I know it's going to be really hard to fly like that, but I'm kind of interested in it. So I'm going to leave this alone and build this the rest of the way out. And yeah, we'll see what flying with down tilt is like. It's happened a couple times, and it's been very strange because like when you think that when you think that you're hovering and flying flat, you start drifting backwards. It's very like kind of confusing and sort of awkward. But I have a feeling that if I spent a couple of minutes doing it, that I would get used to it. And so I'll let you know if that's the case. Let's put these grommets on here. Get this thing properly mounted up to the Cockroach 65 V3. I am almost certain that I'm going to end up pulling this thing apart and rotating the AIO and extending the wires on this camera. Almost certain. Because even if I'm okay, I can run the down tilt with it set up like that, and I won't have like so much garbage up in the front fighting for space. Getting that battery lead into the back is probably a really good idea. But for right now, since I just went through the entire building process, we're going to just let it roll. Because it's really like not any extra, like at this point, I just throw a couple screws in and I'm done. And I can try it as it is. In order to rewire this camera, I'm going to have to mash it back through the frame. No, I guess I don't have to mash it back through the frame. I can desolder it. But yeah, this will perform the best. If I can make this work, this will perform the best because the 300 mAh battery is going to be shifted rearwards, so there's going to be a little bit extra weight in the rear to offset the weight of the TPU and the camera up front. So this is the best performing setup. It's just going to be, is having all this junk up in the front too annoying, basically. Does that make sense? Hopefully I'm making sense. Plug these motors in. Put the little Micro King top TPU piece on there. And that'll be the build. Okay. And now my Lux camera doesn't have a massive scratch in the middle of it, which is awesome. Obviously. Okay. Motors are plugged in. Just get the motor leads out of the way a little bit here. All right, good deal. Camera's sitting nice and level. I need a regular old set of screws. They don't need to be longer because this is a single stack. So let's go with these guys. These are like the regular old OG newbie drone flat-ended screws. Come on. There's that, and one more. Yep, there we go. All right. Let me try to feed him through this cool little guy first. Hard to see, but it says Micro King. Shout out to Timmons for doing this very cool little design. And so, oh boy, these holes are tiny. Let me put the nerd goggles on for this. Where are they? Nerd goggles, where are you at? Bad says, oh no, we got that. Ichigo says, is there any way to have more than 1 minute 30 of autonomy with high KV and 1S 300 mAh? I'm assuming that instead of autonomy, you wanted to write runtime. Yes, you can get. I get upwards of 5+ minutes on some of my analog high KV 1S 300 mAh builds. A minute and 30 seconds is you've got a problem going on there. There's something going on that's not right. You've got PIDs that are overactive. You've got filters that aren't filtering hard enough. There's something ain't right. That is way too low of a runtime. It also depends on how you fly, though. If you're at like 80% throttle the entire battery, then yeah, 1.5 minutes is probably about right. So yeah, it depends on a number of different things. But as long as you're not like burying the throttle the entire battery and flying in more of like a freestyle way, you should very easily be able to get better than 1 minute and 30. All right, so I'm just getting these screws started because the holes in this TPU are awful small. I should have used screws that have pointy tips, but I'll be damned if I'm going to go back and switch. I'll just fight with this like an idiot, but a stubborn idiot. I wonder if I can just push these through. Let's see. Yep, that's the way to do it. Just push it through with your fingies. There we go. Yeah. Cool. All right. Third one here. Come on, get in there. Yep. That's the move. And you only really have to get them started a little bit. The reason why I use this thing, you're going to see in a minute. It's basically to hold your antennas down. Without it, without a little thing like this, you can just use a little blob of E6000 to hold your antennas down to the AIO. Nothing wrong with that. I've done that before. It works. Can't get this last one. There it is. Cool. Let's give this one a little twist to get it the rest of the way. Ah! Stop it. Are you too good for your home? Answer me. Ease in there. Ease in there. It's fine. There we go. So yeah, we're gonna put the head of the antenna through this thing. So hold on, I'm gonna mount it like that, or should I mount it like that? Yeah, I'll mount it like that, and then so I'm gonna run this antenna through this little slot here. All right. Now I'll put it through this bottom slot. So to do that, we're going to unplug it and then pass it through like that. Plug it back in. Okay. All right, good to go. Now it's a little too long. It's going to be kind of like, that'll be fine. I'll put a little bend in it. And then the ELRS antenna, you can kind of do the same thing. Just feed it through just to kind of keep it somewhat in place. This little piece of TPU doesn't really weigh much. I think it's like 0.2 of a gram or something. Worth it to have something to hold stuff down, to hold your antennas down, and it looks cool. And it says Micro King on it. How can you, what's not to like? You too can be the Micro King. These are going to be for sale on the Etsy store one of these days when I get off my... Well, I shouldn't even say that. When I deal with all the other stuff that's exploded and get the listing up there. I got them in a lot of different colors too. Blue Sky says, thanks very much. You're certainly welcome. Matthew Wagner says, FYI, check Discord DM for me so I can mail you something tomorrow. All right, I'll take a look after the stream. Alexander Lucius says, I was playing with running slight down tilt in that kiteboarding footage. It's weird when you're over, but when you're actually flying, it's kind of fine. Awesome. Levster says, hey, anybody, just came from work. Nice guide in time here. Yeah, man, you get to see the good part of the build when it's done. Everybody's favorite part of the build process, when it's over. Although I hear from a lot of you guys that you actually enjoy building. Remember that. Remember that feeling a couple years from now. You can look back fondly upon it. What really made me hate building is all of the repairing involved with 5-inch flying. Just having to come home after every single flight session and spend like hours fixing all of the shit that exploded, that really, I just got so tired of working on these things from that over and over and over again for years. There it is. Put a little bit of a bend in this ORT antenna. Get that kind of facing upwards. I think I plugged the motors in, so that's great. There's my take on a cinematic 65mm 1S HDZero build. Antenna's being held down by the little top cover thing. We're at 0 up tilt. I think when the battery is in there, though, it's going to run it into slightly negative. But that's all right. I'm kind of looking forward to playing around with that. Here's the Batwing mount. Printed in clear. I actually need to get some clear SainSmart TPU. Try to find a website that sells both it and the smooth Bamboo Lab A1 Mini plate, build plate, whatever the hell it's called. And yeah, there it is. Let's see if it'll fly. Motor wires are out of the way. Let me make sure that the motors are spinning in the right direction. Get this thing on in the Betaflight here. Okay. Now hold on. Let me click Betaflight to give it 10 days and nights to open, which is sometimes how long it takes. All right, plugged into USB. Pull the chat back where it belongs, over here. Come on! Betaflight, come on. Be faster. Please. Be faster. Okay. Got a couple batteries. There it goes. All right. So, motors tab. This was a working kind of setup, so we shouldn't really need to do much of anything other than... I mean, it wasn't a 75mm frame, so I might need to move the PIDs a little bit, but probably not, to be honest, because I probably never, like, push the PIDs to make them really aggressive. Wizard, start and spin. Let's see what direction. Motor 1 is correct. Motor 2 is correct. Motor 3 is correct. Motor 4 is correct. Boy, is that nice. And you're done. Now you don't have to screw around with the motor direction wizard, just because you put the red dot connector happy model motor on 1 and 4 and the no red dot on 2 and 3. It's a little thing, but boy, is it nice to not have to monkey around with any of that. Yeah, I did not push the tune very hard here at all. 1.2, 0.75. Let's turn these eye gains up a little bit. Okay, this looks all right. And this all looks fine. Cool. Looks like it's a BMI 260 AIO, so won't be able to get the tune quite as good, but good enough. 300 mAh battery. Let's see how this guy fits. Ugh. Oof. God, there's a lot of junk in front going on here. Okay. All right, let's see. Transmitter. Bring up the VRX here. Turn these HDZero goggles on. I'm going to use the HDZero goggles for HDZero. Oh my god. Sounds insane, I know, but had to happen eventually. I've used them for HDZero before. It's just very rare. Okay. Plugging in a 300 mAh battery. We've got video. Man, HDZero is just, it's so washed out. I forget that about it sometimes. Yeah, it's getting a little hot. Cool off, little guy. Oh boy, that is a lot of red LED on the ground there. All right, goggles are up. Let's see. What? Oh, the propellers are on backwards, aren't they? Yep. The motors are spinning the right direction, but the props are on opposite. That's too fucking funny. All right, hold on. I know the lens looks dirty, right? That's just the way HDZero is. You don't have to clean the lens in HDZero. You won't have to clean your lens because it just looks dirty all the time. I'm actually going to use a Propodial to get these off. So you pass it under, push it up through. Come on, get under there. Push it up and out. And there it is. Come on. Prop it out like that. Pinch it. And then what I do is try to hold it by the bottom, by the stator. It's kind of hard to do. It's a lot easier to hold it by the bell. Just make sure you don't twist. Don't twist when you're removing these props. And there it is. Boy, does that work nice. So that's the Propodial. Here's the clone popper. The clone popper is going to put a little bit less stress. Oh boy. I actually do want to move this to a tri-blade, so this is totally fine. The clone popper has the potential to put a little bit less stress, as long as you don't do what just happened with those two in a row. But man, sometimes it's hard to get, if you push your propellers all the way down on the motor shaft, which you should. Sometimes it's really difficult to get the clone popper or any of these prop poppers in between the hub of the propeller, Jesus, and the top of the bell. So there we go. Let's throw some tri-blade 1.2 by 0.9s on here. And I just got a bunch of them in red, in We Bleed Red, which is awesome. High right, high left, high left. What's my other option? Smoke crotch gray? Nah, we're going red. Cool. The RC drift cars change direction so quick that I want the grip that these give me. I don't need that off throttle like throw of a bi-blade. So I have not drilled these propellers out yet. I'm going to put it on the motor. I'm going to start pushing. It's almost all the way down. Now I'm having to push too hard on it. So before you get it all the way bottomed out, get the clone popper in there and get it off. And then grab your pin vise with your 2 drill bits and just take a little tiny bit of material out. It'll make your life so much easier. You will stop breaking motors. You'll stop slipping motor shafts. And it just doesn't take much time. We don't change these tiny propellers very often. If you want to move more material, don't spin it. What I do is the first time I spin it, push the propeller all the way down, and then try to not spin it on the way out. But you'll feel it, like it's hard. Come on. Jesus. There we go. Yeah, these are a little tight. And after you've done a bunch of these, you'll know. This is the 0.99 millimeter drill bit that I'm using here right now. Just rotate it a little bit. One more time. Down. And off of there. Actually, one more. And you feel it loosen up every time as you remove a little bit of material. That should be about right. Spin it. All the way down on the pin vise. Pull it off. Back on. Back off. Back on. Back off. Yeah, these are tight like tigers. Also keep in mind, like, you want to try to push this on and off as even as possible, right? Try not to remove more material from one side than the other, throwing the prop out of balance. That's why it annoys me so much that we have to do this, because, like, no matter what, we're pulling these a little bit out of balance. I really wish that the prop manufacturers would dial this in, but it's impossible for them to do that because the motor manufacturers are not dialed in, and they're using all different thicknesses of motor shaft. So it's yeah, it's a big shit sandwich, and we all have to take a bite. I could have actually removed more material from these. These are still a little bit too tight on these motor shafts. That one was actually kind of bad. Well, let me just hit this last one more time. I've always been tempted to try to find a drill bit that's 1.00 millimeters, but I would rather have to, like, you know, put the propeller up and down like 5 or 6 times than just once. I'd rather remove too little material than too much, is the long and short of it. Let's try again here. With the propellers spinning, with the right propellers on the right motors. Oh man, that looks like down tilt. Look at the horizon line is dead center. Hold on. Let me try to push this at least a little bit into up tilt. Especially for flying around here. That's a little bit better. Land now, why? Where's my OSD? There it is. Oh, God. Did this just eat this entire battery? I think it just ate this entire battery. Hopefully this was one of the batteries that I hadn't charged. It was not. This was a battery that was at storage voltage. But now I do need to charge it because I just pulled it down to, like, probably no volts. Yeah, 3 volts. That battery is probably ruined now. Here's a battery that's charged. This will work better. Come on, get out of there. Whoo, there is a lot going on in the front of this thing. Okay. Pull it into a little bit of up tilt here, hopefully. And let's see it. Oh my God. Why is left, right, and right, left? Oh, this is a fun challenge. That's me pushing left. This is me pushing right. Is yaw reversed? Yaw is not reversed. Oh, this is... Oh, front is back and back is front. I think the the AIO thinks it's 180 degrees. Yeah, definitely. The AIO rotation. Wow, I can't believe it flew like that. How the hell did it fly like that? How did the PID loop not freak out? I guess because the motors are spinning the right direction. That was wild. Oh, wait, no, I don't even have to take the battery out to plug this thing in. First time that's ever happened to me. The left and right I could handle. The front and back really made my brain implode. It'd be fun to like try to learn to fly like that. No, it wouldn't. That's a stupid idea. There's no reason to ever do that. So when I take this thing and I pitch forward, it pitches back. Pitch back, it pitches forward in there. So we need to come into config, and then the yaw, instead of 45, it's going to be a different number. 180 plus 45 equals 225. 225. Save and reboot. I'm holding the quad flat in front of me. We're going to go in here and we're going to watch this model. We're going to go nose down, nose up, roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right. All better. Let's try this again. Oh, no. What? Why you know? Why you know? Why you know? I think I know why. I keep taking the battery out, starting to take the battery out. The USB port is on the side in this. I keep forgetting that. So when the board was backwards, I'm actually not sure. No, yeah, it's set up. What's going on here? Oh, right. Reorder the motors. Right. Good call. Wow, that's funny. The motors were ordered incorrectly, but it was spun around incorrectly, so it was, oh, that's super funny. Can you imagine dealing with that situation there as somebody brand new to FPV? Left front. Left rear. Right front. Right rear. Save it, and now we got to check the motor direction. Whenever you change that, you got to back it up and check the motor direction next. Start and spin. 1 is correct, 2 is correct, 3 is correct, 4 is correct, so we're good. All right, now we should be okay. It's super funny. Yeah, the with the board direction reversed and the motor locations reversed, it flew. The PID loop didn't freak out. That's really funny. Oh my god, it is absolutely in negative up tilt now. Oh yeah, I can see it. Alright, that's at least like basically 0. Oh my god, it's so hot! 221. Cool down, little friend. I'm so sorry. Just chill. Oh my god, this is the 0 up tilt life right here. Look how fucking slow you can fly! Oh my god, you can fly infinitely slow! Oh, wow. So funny. It's like comfortable to fly really slow like that, weirdly. Man, it is so low contrast. My god, man. Alright, temperature's coming down. I mean, this is tiny cinewhooping right here. A little wiggle from the fan. Whew, what was this camera doing when I... Look at the windows. Look how hard of a time it's having with that. Yikes. With the bright to dark. Oh boy. Alright. Oh boy, this battery's done already. What's happening with the runtime? I did want to motor limit this down a little bit, and I forgot to do that. So let's do that. I'm just going to do that in the OSD, though. Alright, let's get a proper fresh battery off the charger here. I'm hoping for like 3 minutes or so of runtime. I would think that the AIO5 is set up is going to be a lot better on efficiency versus like the 04 and the Walksnail Lite setups. Let's find out. Oh man, this having all this shit up front is super annoying. And that red on the ground is pretty obvious. So we're gonna go to miscellaneous PP, and we're gonna go to. So these are 40,000 kV motors. We don't need all that. And we already had it motor limited down to 90%. We're gonna come all the way down to 80%. Save and exit. Alright, so this is a fresh battery. See what kind, wow, yeah, that drastically changed the hover point. The hover point's all the way up to like 40%. Man, it took this thing a long time to cool off. Oh boy, look at all that red from those LEDs. Yuck. Oh, Jesus, look at it. Man, 0 up tilt. Why is it not cooling down? 100. Come on. 180. There we go. 183. Man, it's taking a long time to cool off. Maybe because it's such a thick ground plane in there. It's a really thick PDB. PCB, rather. Hey. Man, it is taking forever to cool off. Tune is totally fine. No, it's not. Tune is a little ugly. And it's hard to do anything with so little up tilt. Well, this is all those full throttle blasts were not good for the runtime, but we'll still get a half decent idea. Oh my god, the battery's all... What is the deal with the runtime on this thing? We're at 1.5 minutes and the battery is all the way down to 3.5 already. What the hell? I'm getting better runtime with the 04 rig. Oh, what the hell? What's going on with the runtime with this thing? I'm essentially hovering it, other than those little prop wash runs I did. And this is a battery I literally pulled off the charger. It was full. Is the voltage metering off, maybe? Well, we got to 2 minutes and 20, but I mean, it should easily get to 3 minutes. So this is saying that it's at 3.6 volts. Let me put it on the charger. Maybe the 3.61. All right, so 3.61. Let me throw this battery under the charger and see what that says the voltage is. 361. The charger says 3.7. But see, that's starting to charge it right away. Hold on, let me... Don't I have a voltage checker? No, I just use this as a voltage checker. Let me turn the charging feature off. And then put the battery back on here. 372. So it's a little low, but it's not that low. What is the deal? Let me hook this back up to Betaflight and see if there's anything weird with the filtering. That is way too low of a runtime. PID tuning. The tune is pretty soft, as you can see by that massive hit of prop wash there on a pretty simple little thing. Filtering, gyro filter. So this is Brandon's magical BMI 270 filtering setup. One notch. Let's pull this D-term. Let's add some D-term filtering back in. That might have been the problem. I had that all the way up at 1.4. That's a bit much. All right, now we're back down to 1.2. That added a good chunk of filtering there. The tune I'm really gonna leave. Motor output is at 80%. 12 motor poles, that's fine. Yeah, 25 milliwatts, that's what I want. All right, let's try again. Maybe that D-term filtering being cranked up was just a bit too much. Another 300 mAh battery, fully charged. Fresh off the charger. I was hoping to get like 4 minutes of runtime from this, because I was like, you know, it's going to be quite a bit heavier. It's not having to power an entire second board, right? That's one of the things I really like about the analog drift car chasing rigs is the runtime. And so I was hoping that this would be in that same sort of vein. Man, this thing gets hot in a hurry, too. This AIO5, like, it's just constantly overheated. And why is it getting hotter? This AIO has been very weird from the jump. So I just took filtering away, which should make it run cooler, and it's apparently made the situation worse. Where now, even just at a hover, it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. I'm sorry, I added filtering, rather. This is kind of ridiculous. I don't know about this AIO5, man. I feel like I've had problems from like the very first build that I did with it. Yeah, okay, it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. let me go the other way, and I'll remove filtering, and maybe that'll make it better. This is frustrating. I mean, it could just be over-filtered, I guess. Usually the BMI 270s are not. Usually they need a lot of filtering. Filter settings. So we were at 1.4. We'll go all the way up to 1.6 and see what that does. Okay. I wonder if this has black box. If it does, I might be bugging Brandon to take a look at this to see if he can figure anything out. Well, it's not freaking out from me removing filtering. It is getting hot, though. So it looks like I had the filtering about right, because it wasn't getting this hot when it was at 1.4. Yeah, now it's worse now. Well, this is super weird. And I keep pulling batteries out when I don't need to. I'm just so used to, no, that's not a thing, Rockcrawler. The propellers make more than enough airflow to keep any of these rigs. Flying faster will never, ever, ever cool a rig down more than the extra heat. That is not a thing. I'm not going to back the tune off because it's already struggling to deal with prop wash. This D-gain, D-term, and there is no black box on this, so we have to tune the old school way. I'm gonna switch this gyro low pass 1 from PT2 to PT1. This is gonna filter way harder. I'm not really sure what else to do here. It's on 25 milliwatts, so the VTX is barely doing anything. The PIDs are not very aggressive. The motor output limit is taking these 40,000 kV motors down to the equivalent of 32,000 kV motors, which is like totally fine. Let's give it one more try. Maybe it really didn't like that PT2 filtering setup. I mean, that's the setup that I have on so many rigs that have BMI gyros, though. That's Brandon's magical little... So a couple more things to that, but... Yeah, I don't know. Weird, man. Maybe it'll be better now. Keep wanting to clean this lens, but that's just how HDZero looks. Alright, let's see if this is any better. It's certainly not better so far. We're already up to 181. Maybe it'll come back down though. No, that's worse. So this is actually a really good example of like adding additional filtering is not always the answer. Oh, there it could drop back down to 181. Let's see if it keeps coming down. Boy, is it easy to fly backwards with this. 180? That's... Oh, the battery is just falling on its face. Okay, this is... There's something all the way wrong with this. Wow, man, what a bummer. I feel like I've had this issue with this AIO 5 board the entire time I've owned it. I feel like I remember the core temperature constantly being a problem, and the run times being pretty bad. Let me try this. Let me go back to. So on the Hummingbird V4, Brandon's which has a BMI 270, Brandon's filtering setup didn't work as well as the stock filtering setup that was on that. So let me do this. Let me just try this, just as a sanity check. Let's go 4.3 filter settings for clean build with RPM filtering. We're just gonna pick this. This is gonna put the filters back to basically like stock Betaflight. And let's take a look here. Unfortunately, I don't have any more 300 mAh batteries charged, but I do have some 260s. So we don't need the 3 harmonics. That's fine. Let's save this. All right, so this is a much more normal filtering setup. Let's see if this helps or hurts. There's a lot of D-term filtering here, though. Let's turn this on. And let's just put that up to 1.2. Okay. This is a 260 mAh battery, which is... I don't know. It's going to change the hover point a little bit. If there was like some weird resonance that it was at with those 300 mAh batteries, there's a chance that this 260 will get it out of that range. Probably not, but like you never know. Let's just see. Let's just see what's going on here. Man, this AIO just gets so hot so fast. Like, oh man, no, it's looking like this is worse. Maybe it's not worse, but it's kind of the same, I guess. There it comes down. Let's see if it keeps coming down. Oh man, no. Well, I mean, oh, there it goes. Down to 180, but it looks like it just refuses to come down much below 180. What happens if I start actually flying it? Man, zero up tilt life is weird life. Oh, for fuck's sake. Continuing to come down a little bit. 176, there we go. Oh god, no! Back up to 178. I think one of the things that's happening is the AIO is so thick. Wow, now it's back up to 180. Now 178, 180. I have a funny feeling that at this cruise throttle, there's some weird like harmonic that's making this thing vibrate back and forth. Speed up and slow down the motors. This is weird, man. Yeah, Steady Eddie says turn off core temperature warning, problem solved. Yeah. Oh my god. Without black box, there's not a whole hell of a lot that can be done here. Let me spin each motor up and see if maybe one of these motors or props is banged up and that's causing the issue. You never, I mean, it's very doubtful, but you never know. This is not a fresh set of motors. This is not a fresh set of... Well, this is a fresh set of props, but I could have bent the props when I was putting them on. All right, motor 1. Nice and smooth. Motor 2 is not great. Motor 4 is fine. Motors 2 and 3 are vibrating a bunch. Yeah, okay. All right, so these motors are the problem. I pulled these motors off of a freestyle rig. I've got a fresh set of these motors coming, so that's the issue. 2 of these motors are banged up, and the battery in my transmitter is going dead as well. Yeah, so 2 of the motors are banged up. So when I get these fresh motors, I'll put them on, and that should fix the problem. When the motors get banged up, and like you do that test with turtle mode or in the motors tab, you'll notice that you feel the vibrations at around 30%. That's where we hover, right? We hovered around 30% throttle. So at that really slow hover, that's where those vibrations are going on, and that's feeding into the PID loop, and it's trying to fix those vibrations by speeding the motor up, slowing it down. And so when we put the nose down and started going faster, we got out of that 30% throttle range. We got up to like the 40 or 50% throttle range, and you can feel that things smooth out. The RPM increases, and so yeah, that's what's going on there. It's not an airflow thing. It's not that we're getting more airflow and that's cooling them down. It's that we're getting out of that range where it's vibrating and feeding back into itself. So yeah, I will withhold any further judgment until I've got a fresh set of motors on here. These were the motors that were on the Matrix builds here that I did a bunch of crashing with to try to see if the Matrix AIO would blow up, within the first 40-50 batteries, which it did not, which was great. But I must have banged those motors up enough where they are causing some issues. And so that's not HDZero's fault yet. I don't know. I seem to remember every single build that I've done with this AIO 5 has had this core temperature warning. And what worries me is like when I plug the battery in and like put my goggles on, adjust them, pick the transmitter up in my hands, the core temperature fires up from like 150 to 180 in like 10 seconds. That does not sound right to me. So I don't know. Maybe my AIO 5 is messed up. Maybe when you build an HD VTX into the same board as the ESC and the Express LRS and all that other stuff, you're just asking too much, and that's just a part of the deal, is that the board is going to get outrageously hot like that. But yeah. I think... I don't know. Maybe when I get the motors, since I'll have to unscrew a bunch of stuff, maybe at that point I'll rotate this AIO around and extend these camera wires, because this is there's just a lot going on up front with this thing. But I mean, I don't know. The way that it is now, it'll be... Actually, let's check. Let's check the CG real quick. The way that it is now, it should have the best CG balance, front to rear. So that's what the battery pushed almost all the way back. And so testing CG is easy. You just like hold the thing roughly on the center line and see if it noses down or noses back. And so like on the center line here, it's not an exact sign. Wow, it still looks like it's a little bit nose heavy. I wouldn't expect that. So if I move my fingers forward a little bit and pick it up a little bit on the front line, this is not like my finger is like a flat pad. If If I rotate my fingers sideways, this might be a little bit better. Yeah, it's still a little bit nose heavy. So I'm gonna leave it like this then, because this is helping the CG, right? Having this, and then I mean I could shift this battery back a little bit more. Let me try that. That still seems like it's just an ever so slight bit nose heavy. See that? All right. So yeah, I'm definitely going to leave this as it is to kind of help with that. As to show you the other side of that, this is one with the battery lead in the back and the camera up front. We'll take another 300 mAh battery. So this is much easier to just like live with. It just gives you more space to work with the battery, but this should be like mega nose heavy. Well, it's not that much worse. This is with the RunCam Nano 3 though. This is a super lightweight camera. Although the Lux camera is pretty... Best way to do it would be to loop a piece of string through that center spar there and that center spar. Do I have a little... Oh, I can do it with... I can do it with 30 gauge wire, I'll bet. Let's see. 30 gauge wire down through. We're in the fucking weeds now, bro. All right, 30 gauge wire around that side. And then this side as well. CG does matter. It really, really does. If your CG is off, front, back, left, right, the motors are literally going to have to do more work on that side. And so that's going to kill efficiency. And it also hurts flight performance. When you jump off the throttle, if the CG is not right, you're going to get a moment of like instability. Yeah, there it is. Look at that. So this is like the perfect way of measuring front to rear weight balance on these spars. So now watch this, right? So that's with the battery pushed all the way forward. If I just, now the plug's not long enough to do this, but if I just artificially shift this battery back a bunch, which is basically what I'm doing on the other build, right? And then grab these. Oh, now it's actually rear heavy. Look at that. And so there's a point where you can move the battery just right. Still a little bit rear heavy. Just a little bit farther forward. There we go. So that's a perfect example of how where the battery is. A little bit forward. So if you wanted to be totally insane, this is what you would do. And just keep moving. There it is. So that's about perfect. Still a little bit rearwards, right? And so that would be about it. So you got to get it wiggling back and forth. Yeah, there it is. So yeah, the battery right there on this particular rig with this weight up front, this specific Batwing and the RunCam Nano 3, this is the perfect spot for the battery. And like what you want to remember about the battery is that the cap here, this is hollow. There's just a couple little wires inside of this cap. This is all the lithium of the battery, right? So this is the heaviest part of the battery. So we can see the battery is ever so slightly shifted rearwards here. And then we do have the weight of the cap and the connector or whatnot. But yeah. And so if I compare that to this one, so this is where the battery wants to live. Oh, and you know, once these are like this, I can just drop them in. Oh, cool. These two 30 gauge pieces of wire are now officially my center of gravity testers. Just drop them in there. Oh yeah, it's still way nose heavy. So hold on. Let me try to push this battery back as much as I possibly can. All right, so that's the max that this battery will go back, right? This plastic bastard is pushed up against these guys. And so if I take my little CG testers here, we're still nose heavy. Run this around the other way for you. So this is, yeah, so we're still nose heavy. That's kind of annoying. Running the battery, so on this one that we just balanced out, look at the battery lead. The battery lead isn't even close to having enough cable on it. And the other problem is, the first time I nose this thing in, this battery would shift forward. So, like, if you're going to be sensitive about CG, this is the right way of doing it, because now the battery is here. This cable is just barely long enough to plug in, so it's going to, like, hold the battery back. I guess on a setup like this, I guess you could figure out exactly where it is. You'd have to extend these battery leads, and then you could figure something out. You could put, like, a little dab of E6000 down here maybe to keep the battery from sliding forwards. But yeah, just understand that every single time you nose in crash, the battery is going to slide forwards, and that's going to make this CG way, way, way worse. So that's kind of a bummer. I was hoping that the CG would be damn near perfect with this front battery setup, but apparently not. But no matter what, the front battery lead setup is going to be better, because it's going to keep the battery more solidly back this way. Cool. There you go, my friends. That's what I got for you for today. Hope you enjoyed and learned a thing or two. Matthew says TPU cover might be right on top of the Divimath chip. No, there's an air gap. Oh, I don't have this camera on anymore, but yeah, there's an air gap because of the plug headers. So yeah, I wouldn't think that would be an issue. You never know. Steady Eddie said, no, we got that. Yamasaur says, my Matrix AIO blew up within the first 10 packs. That sucks. Did they replace it for you? Whoever you bought it from, tell them. Maybe they'll help you out. Craig says, way to go, testing CGs just like flying RC planes. Yeah. For CG battery issue, maybe able to 3D a hook to hold the battery in the proper slot. Yeah, like if we really wanted to be nuts about CG, I'm sure that we could figure out how to get it. The problem is going to be every single different rig, every single different build is going to have a different requirement for where the battery sits. So your best bet is probably going to be to do it with E6000, so that you know, for your specific build, you know, there's different Batwings that are different amounts of TPU. There's different camera weights. The how long the battery lead is going to matter. So it's going to be really tough to absolutely nail the CG on these. I think like if you're thinking about CG at all and doing anything, that's way better than doing nothing. And so that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm thinking about it. I did something to kind of help it a little bit, and I'm going to sort of leave it there. I'm not going to get completely insane with it. More insane than I already have been. So yeah, I'm going to table this until those new motors show up. I will fly a quick analog battery on this, basically Mobula 6 2024 that I've put back together. This was a drift chasing rig, and then I got sick of the electrical noise. It is much better as a freestyle rig. So let's see. Let's see if the motors are spinning the right direction first. Okay, I can turn this off. We're done with HDZero for the day. And oh, I gotta unplug and replug the VRX. Come on, I made the noise. Plug back in, you bastard. There we go. Will it fly? Yep. Propellers are hitting the ducts, though. It's these left side ones. What are you hitting on? Why are you hitting? Oh, this is an older frame, I guess. A little bit out of round here. Okay. Let's get this HD VRX layer out of here. All right. Away we go. I'll use these HDZero goggles again. What the hell? Mobula 6 2024 with a motor and prop swap is what I'm flying right now. It's got the Tiny Whoop 0702 36,000 kV motors and the HQ 1.2 by 0.9 by 3 tri-blades. And this is a 260 mAh battery. Here we go! And I've got video. Oh boy, this feels better. Wow, what is with the video noise though? Wow. What is with the video noise? It looks... Oh, I'm flying with a weird module. You guys probably don't have... You guys are like, what? The video noise is fine. I have a... I have an old school module on this... On these goggles right now. On these HDZero goggles. Because I've got both of my rapid fires on the HD2 and HD3s to more fairly compare them. Wow, sync pulse reconstruction is quite the thing. Goggle modules have come a long way. This is like an old school goggle module, like the one that used to come with the Fat Shark goggles back when they came with modules. So this is probably like a 6 or 7 year old goggle module. This thing flies awesome. These motors feel great. Oh boy. Hey. Man, I'm blown away at how much interference there is in the video with this particular old-ass module. Will I even be able to go upstairs? Oh, boy. Oh, boy. It's flashing. It's flashing. Oh, God. Okay. Nope. Alright, we're back. Still flashing all over the place, but man. I haven't dealt with the flashing in a long time. I forgot how obnoxious it is. This is what gives analog a bad name. Rapid fire module, man, analog will be looking good. Oh, sad Tiny Whoop gate. Oh, I thought I could back through that. Whoa! Okay. Okay. The new iPhone also doesn't use the lightning plug, which is super annoying. Now none of my fucking cables work. But you could actually make quite the case for using USB-C cables instead of Apple-specific lightning cables. Oh god! Oh god! I got all fakakted. Mobula 6 2024 with a motor swap. That is, that flies great. Last battery, another 260. It's got red marker on the side, so it might be a an old and moldy 260. Let's see. Man, I'm gonna change goggles. Hold on. It is very difficult to fly with all that video noise going on. These are the HD2s. Where's the switch? There it is. Okay. Here we go. Wow, these are bright. Why are these so bright? Chill out on the brightness, yo. There we go. Oh my god, that's so much better. It's just normal now. There's no flashing at all. Hey. What's up, buddy?
You're looking pretty calm today, sir. Oh, boy. That beard almost got a little trim. Easy. Easy. Hey. Oh, God. Oh, that was a hard hit. So this is the FXT camera with the Mobula 6 2024. Oh, God, I kind of saved it, but then didn't. Canopy. Oh, that throw, though. Getting a little staticky up there. Oh, rejected. This is actually with a circular polarized antenna hard mounted to the AIO. The UFL broke off. And so I but it luckily didn't take the pads with it, so I hard soldered a little True RC Singularity that I had ripped the UFL off onto this guy. So when we were all the way upstairs, the reason why the video got so bad is that there was a PCB in between the antenna and us. Just like when I dove the 1,400-foot tower with the Tiny Whoop. As soon as I turned it over at the top, we had crystal clear video. Oh my God. I'm having a rough go. Ugh. Screw you! Look at the rim light on this dog right now. Holy crap. Look at him, he's glowing. Oh! Oh! What you got? Oh! 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 Oh, he got a scratch. That's what he's got. What you want to do about it, bro? What you... Oh! No, I was messing with Teddy. I think Teddy made his point. All right, friends, thanks for hanging. Come on back on Monday night, tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, and we'll do something else. Maybe we'll do another analog RC drift car chasing rig from a Betaflight build this time. This one. What I'm probably going to do is take the motors off of this and put them onto this and just, yeah, set this up for chasing. So then we'll have a CO3 Betaflight based analog drift car chasing build. We'll have the Mobula 6 set up here with the RunCam Nano 3. And then hopefully this AIO 5 thing comes around, but I don't know. I'm still waiting to have a good experience with this AIO 5 board. I feel like every single time I've done a live stream or done a build with it, I'm left scratching my head at the end of it. From like core temperature warnings and low runtime and like low power. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Thanks for hanging, friends. Be good. By the way, the beginning of the live stream was the 2S04 75mm motor to motor 1.6 inch prop build, which I'm now going to plug back in and give you a little bit more flight footage from. It was a little bit windy out, and I was flying it in like a bigger spot. It really is like, it's really for like garden flying. It's really, really, really good for that. Here's a little bit more of what it doesn't do all that well. No. Here, I'm ripping around the garden with it. Here we go. This is what it does. At the beginning of the stream, that's not what it does well. Now you're going to see what it does well. which is flying like small front yard, backyard stuff. Love you, bye!